Traveling Through the Dark by Wiliiam Stafford. Paraphrasing. I was traveling through the dark. I was driving along the Wilson River Road. On the edge of the road, I found a dead deer. Since the road is narrow and lies the possibility of many accidents, it is best to roll them into the deep. With the help of the rear light of the vehicle, I stumbled back of the car. Then I stood by the heap of the dead doe. She had possibly been crushed or killed recently. She had stiffened and she was cold. I dragged her. Her belly was large. I touched her side. That's her belly. Her side was warm. Inside her belly was a fawn. It was alive, but still, and it will never be burned. I was there, and by the side of the mountain road I hesitated. The car was parked. The steady engine was putting under the hood. The warm exhaust was turning. I stood observing these things. I listened to the wilderness. I was in dilemma. I could not decide what to do. I thought of all the people. My only swerving was to push the doe over the edge into the river. I was bound to do that. I did. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Bachelor and Master English. Today, as you have heard, the paraphrase that we are talking about, traveling through the dark. This is a poem by Wiliiam Stafford, one American poet. And in our today's discussion, we'll be talking about the summary, critical analysis. You have already heard the paraphrase. There is a text that I don't like to spend time by reading the text here. Anyway, let's go with the summary here. Okay. While driving at night along a mountain road, the speaker finds a dead deer. He stops his vehicle at once. In order to prevent an accident, the speaker decides to push the dead deer off the road and down into the canyon. As he drags the deer off, he notices that it is pregnant and the unborn baby, that is fawn, is still alive in the dead mother's belly. He stops to think for a while. The discovery causes the speaker to hesitate for a moment while considering the dead and the living. Then, under the light of his highlights, he pushes the dead doe over the edge and into the Wilson River. It's time to tell you the summary of the poem. अँध्यारो हुँदै यात्रा गर्दा विल्सन रिभरको सडकको छेउमा एक मृग मृत अवस्थामा पाएँ मैले। पहिरो बीचमा गुडुक्याइदिनु उत्तम हुन्छ किनकि सडक साँघुरो छ र नयाँ दिशा लिँदा धेरै मृत्यु हुन सक्छन्। मोटरको पछाडिको बत्तीको चमकले म कारको पछाडि उत्तिएँ र भर्खरै मारेको मृगको थुप्रोको छेउमा उभिएँ। उनी कडा भइसकेकी थिइन्। चिसी मैले उनलाई एकतिर घिसारेँ। उनको पेट ठुलो थियो। उनको छेउमा छोएका मेरा औँलाहरूले मलाई चेतना दिए। उनको छेउ न्यानो थियो। उनको बच्चा सायद मृग शावक जीवित रूपमा पर्खिरहेको थियो पेटभित्र। अचल रूपमा कहिले नजन्मने गरी आमा मरिसकेकी तर बच्चा जीवितै। त्यो पहाडको बाटोको छेउमा म के गर्ने? मलाई दोधार भयो। गाडीले अगाडिको पार गर्ने बत्तीहरूतिर दिशाबोध गर्यो र ढकना मुनिबाट इन्जिनले न्यानो कम्पनको आवाज निकाल्यो। रातो भइरहेको न्यानो निकास, पेट्रोल डिजलको धुवाँ जसलाई भन्छ त्यो न्यानो निकास एक्जस्ट को चमकमा म उभिएँ। हाम्रो जमात वरिपरि एकनास अनकन्टारले सुनिरहेको म सुन्दथेँ। हामी सबैको लागि मैले धेरै गहिरिएर सोचेँ। मेरो एकमात्र तुरुन्त लिने मोड, जिन्दगीमा मैले एकदम कठिन निर्णय लिनुपर्ने अवस्था थियो। त्यो चाहिँ जिन्दगीको त्यस्तो निर्णय लिने मोडमा म आएँ र मैले सोचेँ अब विकल्प केही छैन। त्यसपछि म उनलाई बचाउन, त्यो भित्रको बच्चा प्रतिको माया मलाई हुँदाहुँदै पनि उसलाई बचाउन सक्ने अवस्थामा थिइनँ। त्यस कारणले मैले कठोर निर्णय लिएँ। त्यसपछि मैले उनलाई छेउबाट नदीमा पुग्ने गरी हुत्याइदिएँ। यो अँध्यारो हुँदै यात्रा गर्ने कविता छ। विलियम स्टाफोर्डको एउटा प्रकृति प्रेमसँग सम्बन्धित एउटा मार्मिक कविता हो। एउटा वास्तविक घटनालाई आधारमा लिएर कविले लेखेको यस कविताले प्रकृति प्रेमीहरू र जनावरका अधिकारवादीहरूले पनि के कस्तो कस्तो निर्णय लिन बाध्य हुनुपर्छ। प्रकृति प्रेम भन्दाखेरि प्रकृति अब आफ्नो स्वार्थतिर कति हाबी हुने हो, यस्ता कुराहरूलाई चाहिँ कसरी चाहिँ यसलाई चाहिँ परिस्थिति जन्ने कुराहरूलाई कसरी चाहिँ व्यवस्थापन गर्ने र एकदम कठिन निर्णयहरू कसरी गरेर गाली पाउने हो कि ताली पाउने हो, बडा कठिन निर्णयहरू गर्नुपर्ने अवस्थामा मान्छेले कस्तो खालको चाहिँ अप्रिय निर्णय गर्नुपर्दो रहेछ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ यहाँ कविले भन्न खोजेका छन्। That's all with the discussion of the summary of the poem in Nepali. Now let's go with the critical analysis. The poem Traveling Through the Dark is about a man that comes across a deer that is dead on the side of the road during the night. It is not a rare occurrence, but it is a hard thing to deal with all the same. Under the light of his headlights, he pushes the doe into the river, even though it has a fawn in the belly. This poem is about making decisions. The poet considers different possible courses of action. His mind swerves. The poet Stafford is swerving between the easy course of action, pushing the deer into the river, and the more difficult, but better course of action, trying to save the unborn baby deer. Maybe with heavy heart he chooses the easy course. Traveling Through the Dark is a poem in which poet describes how he is moved by the death of a pregnant doe while driving a car along the mountain road at night. The first stanza of the poem sets the scene. It is clear in the title. It is reiterated itself in the title here, in which the darkness means the shroud of what is done when no one is around. Then in the second stanza, the deer means the death of innocence. In the third stanza, the alive fawn in the pregnant mother means that hope still exists. Unfortunately, the hope dies with the innocence. The car and the lowered headlights symbolize society looking down on the narrator for killing the fawn. While going through the poem, we know that the main idea or the gist of this poem are choices. Men are in the natural world, and wisdom and knowledge. Stafford may be satirizing that the so-called nature lovers are themselves responsible for the environmental damage. In this poem, Stafford presents a great tension between two realities, two systems of life. On one hand are efficiency and responsibility, on glamorous virtues that we learn to admire when we face danger or loss. On the other hand, there are emotions warmer than efficiency and deeper than good judgment, where on the scale of rational decision making is the protagonist to weigh what he feels when he touches the door's side. Her fawn lay there waiting, alive, still never to be burned. Stafford's poem is strong because he does full justice to both sides of the conflict. Wiliiam Stafford's Traveling Through the Dark examines the killing of a pregnant doe by a hit-and-run driver. One of nature's exquisite creatures has been slaughtered and callously left on the road, unburied, unmourned, potentially to cause future accidents. The unborn fawn is described as alive, still never to be born. The word still sustains meanings on at least three levels. First, still as yet alive, still as quiet, indeed, so silent he hears the wilderness listen. 3. Still as stillborn, an inevitable association with the appearance of both still and unborn, both still and born within the same phrase. It reiterates the theme of confrontation between technology and wilderness. The poet teaches the lesson of life here through this poem. Instead of worrying about the problem, one has to accept the things as they are. That's wisdom. His sense of wisdom, and he's telling us how to manage in our life, what circumstances come forth, and how to manage, what to do when you have no other person to talk about and to take decision. When you are alone to take decision and in such critical condition, what do you think actually? What knowledge do you apply here in your, and how do you show your wisdom? That's the point. And one has to accept that things are there as they are. So, looking at the availability of these things, finding the possibility of these things, and thinking about less harm after taking decision. One has to take such a decision here, like the poet has done here in the context of the poem. It is about coming face to face with death. The poet is here coming face to face. He has encountered death. Traveling through the dark explores the conflict between humanity and the natural world, and specifically meditates on the destructive potentiality of technology. The theme of the poem is sometimes hope dies with the innocence, and the tone is ironical, dark and neutral as poem ends on a note of sadness, with the speaker seemingly not feeling all that good about doing what was right. Okay, that's the end of today's discussion. I am sure you got the points. I should like to thank you very much for your time and patience. I shall be back with other educational videos. Till then, have a nice time.